All right. Well, good to hear about your experience there. Let's talk about the rest of week 3. So I'll just preface it by saying, as far when it comes to the locks, I'd say we're
Yes.
doing pretty well this year.
Yeah.
2-1 week for you. You're the one that's the hottest right now. You're 8-3 overall on the year on your
Yeah.
locks. Just recapping this week, your 3 locks for week 3 were USC -12, LSU +2. Those were your wins, and then you also had Miami +5.5. I shared that loss with you. I think if we knew Haynes King was going to start, we probably would not have made that one of our locks. Is that
I
fair to
mean,
say?
from the second Max Johnson was named the starter on Saturday, like we lost. We
Yeah,
all knew that we lost. I was expecting to lose. If I could go back and redo it, I would
yeah,
have even before the game started. No question about it. I guess the reason we didn't feel that Max Johnson would get much time is because the A&M offense was terrible the week before, all
sure.
game long, and Johnson didn't get any playing time.
Yeah,
And so, like, I'm curious. Yeah, it didn't really make sense to me then. It still doesn't really make sense to me. But really, if Miami hadn't tried to kick field goals and yeah, try to just field goal people to death, then we still probably could have even snuck that one out. But we didn't.
sure.
And we take our we overall had a really good week,
Hmm.
and we take our losses like gentlemen.
Sure. You were 2-1. I was 4-2. My wins were Oklahoma -11, Minnesota -27.5, USC -12. That was another shared win there.
Yeah.
The
Mm-hmm.
Nevada Iowa under 40.5, which didn't look
Yeah.
like it. It looked like it might get canceled. That game lasted until like 2 a.m. or something stupid.
That's right.
Um, it easily hit once they actually finished the game. And then the losses were Miami +5.5, which we mentioned, and then the
Yeah.
Louisiana Tech Clemson under 54.5. Second time this year I've got burned on a Clemson under, so we might have to just shut that down for the year. So, but yeah, good
Overall, good week though, huh? Like, what's your
overall.
record right
Yes.
now?
So my record overall is 12-9-1. You are 8-3. So
Okay.
together, 20-12-1. So
Nice,
pretty
nice. That's
solid.
what we, yeah, that's what we like. Just trying to make you guys money out there. That's what we're trying to
Sure.
do. Trying to make money for you guys, and
Yeah.
hope to have another good week this week.
So just kind of recapping some of the games, we'll burn through these. Um, there's a number of games that are worth a mention at least, but I don't know if they're worth talking about a whole lot. So and you mentioned yourself that you didn't watch a lot of football this weekend because you were at a game. I also
Right.
did not watch a ton myself. I had a softball tournament I was playing in. Um, I still was able to watch several games. There were also other games that I would have liked to watch, but they ended up being blowouts, so I didn't go back and actually watch them.
Right.
But yeah, so we may have fewer thoughts on some of these games than we normally would, but we'll go through these. Friday night, Florida State beat Louisville 35-31. That was a good, entertaining game. Um, Jordan Travis did go down with an injury, might be out for several weeks or even
Mhm.
longer. So that's one thing to keep an eye on. Saturday, Oklahoma 49, Nebraska 14. Nebraska finally lost a game by more than one score after firing Scott Frost. Um, yeah, I felt pretty good about this one. I had Oklahoma in the locks, and
Yeah.
Oklahoma's legit good. Like they're
Yeah.
a good team.
No, they are.
Yeah. Okay.
They are.
Indiana 33, Western Kentucky 30. Indiana was trailing like the whole way. Um,
Yes.
had to pull one out. They're now 3-0. So just one of many historically basketball schools that are 3-0 in football right now. We'll talk more about that later, but
Sure.
I'm still not positive that Indiana is any good, but they are
Right.
3-0. So yeah, props to them for that. Syracuse 32, Purdue 29. Syracuse, another basketball school, it's 3-0. They're also like quite a bit better, I think, than I thought they would be this year. It seems like their defense is quite a bit better than, yeah, like I think that was maybe the one area where I expected their defense to be just trash this year. And
Yeah.
I mean, they're not amazing. You held Purdue to 29, but that's like not nothing.
Yeah. No, they are. Syracuse is a team that, like, didn't see coming. Like, none of us saw that happening. They'd been trending down the last number of years. This isn't just like a they didn't just have like one bad year. They've been having bad year on top of another bad year on top of another bad
Sure.
year. And yeah, 3-0, like, who knows how good they're going to do against ACC competition, when you really get into the meat grinder of that schedule. But hey, it's a great start. It's a great start to be 3-0.
Hmm.
Yeah, all ahead of them. And for Purdue, tough loss. Like, that's a game you really can't afford to lose if you're Purdue. who they at least had high hopes. And I know we still have a lot of conference play left. We all know that they're only 0-1 in conference, but there's a lot, they have a lot of tough games left. So
sure.
Yeah, that's a game that we really thought Purdue would be winning kind of coming into the season.
Yep. Number 1, Georgia, 48, South Carolina, 7. So Georgia just looks like the best team in the country right now. I think if the playoff was played today, they would definitely be the favorite.
Agreed.
Any thoughts on Georgia as the resident Georgia fan here?
Yeah, I mean, not really. I actually did watch most of this game. I don't really have much adjectives. I'm not used to seeing this kind of offense. This is a different kind of offense for Georgia. This is nothing like what I was used to. And we can just be real here. Stetson Bennett might win the Heisman.
He might.
And I'm not a Stetson Bennett fan, famously. I'm not a huge Stetson Bennett guy. He is putting up big-time numbers against, Oregon and South Carolina are decent teams that have 5 stars on defense. And he's putting up Heisman numbers against them. There's not going to be anyone else on Georgia's schedule that's going to have a much better defense than those teams. I'm just being real. Not until maybe Alabama SEC championship. This guy could have an incredible season for a team that's going to be top 3 all year. And
I don't know if they give up the number 1 ranking until the SEC championship game.
Maybe not. That's going to vault you into the Heisman conversation. Right in the middle of it with Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, all those guys, Caleb Williams. He's going to be right in the middle of it if he keeps up this pace. It's incredible. It's incredible the strides he made in the offseason. This is a different quarterback than the quarterback we saw last year. And the defense is still incredible. The defense is still really, really good for Georgia, and the offense has taken massive bounds forward. So it's a buzzsaw. I'm giddy just watching this team. It's phenomenal to watch. I don't even repeating as champs is the hardest thing to do in sports. I'm not trying to project that on anyone. I'm just enjoying the ride. We got the monkey off our back last year. I'm just enjoying the ride this year, and it looks like it could be quite a ride after 3 games.
Is there any concern for South Carolina, or is it just, they played Georgia, so what are you going to take from that?
More that they played Georgia. For South Carolina, I think they even asked Beamer kind of a dumb question in his press conference, did y'all quit? What? No, no. We got beat by an NFL team. That's what happened. We played a bunch of NFL guys and we lost. What do you want me to say? They have 2 easy games the next 2 weeks. They play Charlotte, then South Carolina State. You'll be 3-2 coming out of those games, getting into SEC play. Then you get into SEC play. Can you beat Missouri? Probably. Can you beat Vanderbilt? Probably. Florida's not looking just tremendous. There's still some wins out there. This team could. We said 6-6. I think both of us said 6-6 in the preseason. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, we were both under 6.5. Yes,
that's right where I'd see them be. Right there at 6-6. Not that they're a bad team. They play a meat grinder of a schedule. We all talked about it. You still have to play Clemson. You still have to play Kentucky and A&M and Tennessee. So they're not as bad as you think they are. They're playing really good teams.
Sure. Okay, Notre Dame 24, Cal 17. Marcus Freeman finally gets a win as Notre Dame's head coach. So I think most people probably did not watch this game unless you're a fan of Notre Dame or Cal. I'll give kind of the Cliff Notes version. Feel free to fill in if you did watch any of it. So Drew Pine got the start, his first start at Notre Dame with Tyler Buckner out for the season. For the entire first quarter and the beginning of the second quarter, really the first half, he looked like whatever cliche you want to use, deer in headlights. The man, it was terrible. He couldn't complete. There was one pass where he had a little, literally, I'm not exaggerating, a 10-yard pass to Michael Mayer, who is a 6'5" tight end, threw it at his feet. Just looked like it was terrible. It was like they pulled somebody out of the stands and said, "Here, try to make a few throws." He finally settled down in the second half, completed 13 of his last 14 passes or something. They were all very short. I think his average depth of target was under 5 yards or something. It was very short, and they were completing passes to running backs and tight ends, which I think is what we're going to see from Notre Dame going forward. Their offensive line finally played well in the second half. They got a lot of push. They were able to run the ball. They also gave Chris Tyree some touches. Imagine that.
Finally.
And it worked.
Finally. Right. That was the thing I was going to pop off about first. He got 17 carries, 5 receptions, and a touchdown. receiving. Like that's what you need to do between him. Like feed the guys that can get some. And they only put up 24 points. It's not like they had an offensive explosion, but it's a start. It's a start. That's what they should have been doing the first couple of weeks. Was I think both of our opinions. So yeah, just feeling better about at least getting your talented guys touches in space, like give them an opportunity. Yeah. Instead of just not using them. So
sure. I think so. Their defense played well. They had a number of sacks and would have had more. Well, okay. Rephrasing it. They also Cal got away with a lot of holding. Okay, that happens in half of every football games. Whatever. They had 5 or so sacks despite that. I think the defense is going to be top 10 level good all year, if not top 5. I was maybe thinking top 5 earlier this year. That might have been a stretch just because the linebackers haven't been amazing, but the defensive line and the defensive backs are playing well. I think they'll have a top 10 defense going forward. And in the second half, the offense looked functional. It didn't look good, but it looked functional. They scored 24 points, like you mentioned. All but 7 of that came in the second half. I think going forward, we're going to see them just I said the word functional already like 3 times, but that's what it's going to be. They're going to play very good defense.
Their way.
They're going to throw the ball a lot to their running backs and tight ends and hit a few receivers on crossing routes. And maybe twice a game, they'll try to throw a deep ball. And they're going to find a way. They're going to try to win a lot of games 24-17.
It's what I think we both thought they were going to be in the preseason, and they had visions of other things for the first 2 games. Where they were not using their running backs. We thought that their running backs out of the backfield were their biggest weapons, and we both thought that, and they appear to be that way still, just because of the lack of receivers. But between the tight ends and the running backs, they need to be utilized more, more than they were in this game.
There were a number of snaps where they had both Tyree and Estime on the field, both running backs. And anytime they put Tyree in motion, like the Cal defense just freaked out. That's the one guy other than Michael Mayer that people actually fear on that team. So use him.
Gotcha.
Okay. Here was a surprising one for me. Tulane 17, Kansas State 10. Didn't watch any of this. But that's a rough look for Kansas State. Doesn't mean anything necessarily for the big picture of their season. It's not like they had any New Year's 6 thoughts or whatever, but it does maybe it's a bit worrisome. And this might just be the Adrian Martinez experience where you have a great win one week and then you lose to somebody crappy the next week. I don't know.
Well, maybe. I do think like Kansas State was okay. Tulane is just good. Like we can't say that. Sure. Tulane's just a good football team. Like they're 3-0 now. That the Pratt, the quarterback for Tulane, I don't know if you remember him from last year, but they scared a number of teams last year with just his. I don't know if you want to call it moxie. You can use whatever adjective you really want to use there. But he's a gamer. He is. He's going to show up and just play his heart out every game. And all of
those cliches that coaches love to use.
That's right. He's a gym rat. All the stuff. Coach's son. The whole thing. Mm-hmm. He's a dual threat. He's gonna try to run the ball and he's pretty good. He got a decent arm. And they beat a Kansas State team with I don't do you say that they did that mainly because they held Deuce Vaughn to 81 yards, which is huge when you can do that. But holding them to 10 points, I think, is really an accomplishment. I'm gonna more credit Tulane than I'm gonna just crush Kansas State. I'm not just going to go off on them. I think their season's still ahead of them. You said, they have a lot of big games coming up still.
Sure. Okay, next we have Minnesota 49, Colorado 7. I didn't watch any of this. I had Minnesota as one of my locks. Colorado's terrible. Minnesota, I think, is sneaky good. So
that's absolutely right. Mainly Colorado is just terrible. Colorado is so bad. That's that was my only takeaway from that one.
Yeah, Colorado will definitely be looking for a new coach this offseason. Just calling it
Correct.
Ole Miss 42, Georgia Tech 0. Georgia Tech is also going to be looking for a new coach this offseason.
I don't know how Clemson struggled with this football team. Clemson was in a dogfight with Georgia Tech late into the third quarter. I just want to remind everyone that Georgia Tech cannot score points. Like they get shut out regularly. This yeah, I don't know where, like, I don't know really where they go either. Like, it's one of those things where, like, I don't really have any good answers for you. They can't really run the ball. Sims is actually a decent quarterback for Georgia Tech. I feel bad that he plays for them. He's talented.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he has no one. He has no guys there with him. Jackson Dart for Ole Miss is finally the guy, like the undisputed guy. And I mean, he's the best one. I think we all thought that. They ran the ball really well, though. I think, like, Zach Evans, the transfer in, had 134, 2 touchdowns. That's Ole Miss. That's what they're going to be. They're going to be able to beat some good teams just by doing that, by running the ball and in play action with Dart. So yeah, I like that. Great for Ole Miss. And yeah, Georgia Tech, I guess, start looking for a coach. I guess, who hires a coach first? Like, we can start playing that game. Like, what coaches are we going for? We know Nebraska's obviously out there looking.
Sure.
But there's going to be a couple more here in the next couple of weeks that are going to try to get in early on the coaching carousel.
Sure. So in Georgia Tech's last 4 games against Power 5 teams, they've been outscored 183 to 10.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The 10 was against Clemson. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That Notre Dame shut him out, and then Georgia shut him out. They gave Clemson, they gave up 10 to Georgia Tech, and then Ole Miss shut him out. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Here's one that we can celebrate a little bit. One of our overs, actually 2 of our overs. We'll talk about the next one later. 2 of our overs for win totals for the season hit already.
Vanderbilt.
38, Northern Illinois 28. Vandy goes over 2.5 wins on the year. The mighty Commodores are here and just taking names.
I don't know if I'd go that far. I mean, if they didn't get a win against Northern Illinois, they weren't going to win another game the rest of the year. Well, I hate to say that. They won't be favored for the rest of the year. They'd have to pull an upset against someone. They could maybe get Missouri. Like, I even heard some Auburn fans as we were walking out of the stadium, like, we're going to lose to Vanderbilt this year. It's going to be that bad. Auburn fans think that Vanderbilt might get them 3-1. That's a great start for Vandy.
Absolutely.
Like, we're not. I mean, you're being a bit facetious, just saying that they're going to take names, but they kind of are. Like, for
they
them,
kind of are.
It's their own version of, like, really taking names. So yeah, credit to them. Great start. We both had them. I think we both had the Vandy over.
We did.
And we both have made money in September. So yeah, it hasn't even got out of the month of September. We've already cashed our overs.
Yeah, by the way, so they also found a quarterback. So Mike Wright was kind of the guy at the beginning of the year. They now are They have turned to AJ Swann, and they really like what he's doing. So yeah, no, we're being a bit facetious. Like, Vanderbilt's not going to go bowling this year, most likely.
Correct.
But like, there's a little something there. AJ Swann, 18 of 28, 255 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks.
Count them, 4.
That's a sign that he doesn't suck, and that's something different than what Vanderbilt has had for a number of years. So
yeah,
if for South Carolina, for Missouri, for teams like this, Auburn, you have to at least bring your C+ game, I think, to beat Vanderbilt this year, at least.
No, agree. And some of it is because they're not playing good teams to start. Like we do have to preface it by saying they're not playing, just phenomenal teams to start out. But you do handle business, and a win is a win. And there's some other teams that are not doing that. So this was a game. I think in the preseason, I think Northern Illinois was favored.
Yes.
I believe in some early lines that Northern Illinois was actually favored against Vanderbilt. This is a huge win for Clark Lee. Like, from now on, like, just the fact that you can go tell people that, hey, we were 3-1. That actually does mean something at Vanderbilt. It means that you have a direction and a sense of, I don't know, purpose. I don't know if purpose is the right word, but like, it's you're showing improvement. You're showing improvement.
Absolutely.
And that's what it's about. Fans can endure a lot of bad times if they actually think there's hope for improvement. And Vanderbilt is showing that right now.
Absolutely. Okay, we talked a little bit about Penn State and Auburn. Penn State beats Auburn 41-12. We talked about you and your experience at the game. You were there. We didn't really talk about the game itself.
Right.
You were the one that was there. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you kind of witnessed in that game?
Nicholas Singleton is that guy for Penn State. That's, I think, what I took from it. I mean, the dude averaged like 12 yards a carry. He ran the ball really well. Auburn has a good defensive line and couldn't really stop the run.
Yeah.
Sean Clifford's going to always just be Sean Clifford. Like, he just is what he is at this point. We shouldn't expect anything else. He didn't win the game. He didn't lose him the game, though. No interceptions, no picks. That's kind of what you need. Like, I don't know if it's what you need. It's what you need against Auburn. It's what you need to beat Auburn.
Yeah.
And I thought Penn State did a really good job of weathering the first half, because that crowd was really loud. It was a very hostile. It was a hostile crowd. It really was. It was rambunctious there, and they did a good job of coming out, taking the lead early, and they go to halftime with the lead, and then that's when it flipped. Third quarter, it all changed, where Auburn kind of panicked. I think you see Auburn's just inability to move the ball consistently on offense. Auburn doesn't have an offensive identity. They gave Tank Bigsby 9 carries in this game.
Really?
That's malpractice. That's coaching malpractice. That's what that is. That's malpractice when your best player is getting 9 carries. Both of Auburn's quarterbacks had more carries than Tank. And
their second best offensive player is his backup.
Jarquez Hunter. That can't happen. That cannot happen. You need to be working to establish the run game early on, taking cuts. That way you can actually move the ball in the third and fourth quarter. Whereas, Auburn pretty much just abandoned the run. Impressive from Penn State's standpoint. It really was. You look at Auburn, where do they go from here? I don't really know. Like Harsin, I hate to be that guy. You really do. Because I actually was a believer in Auburn this year. I thought they would rally around that and just kind of galvanize as a team. They don't seem to have at all. And where it goes from here is anyone's guess. I don't think anyone really knows where Auburn's going from here. I think Robbie Ashford needs to be the quarterback going forward. I know that. But other than that, I don't have a huge take on Auburn.
Sure. Okay. Oregon 41, BYU 20. Maybe a bit of a surprise there. Yeah. BYU was previously undefeated and was just coming off of that Baylor win. But Oregon really played well. It seems like they're coming around since their opening disaster against Georgia. Maybe that was just more about Georgia than Oregon.
Yeah, I think you can kind of say the same thing as you did with South Carolina. Like, just because you lost to Georgia does not make you a bad football team. Yeah. And because a lot of teams are going to get absolutely hammered by Georgia this year. BYU and Oregon are both good football teams. This loss it's not crippling to either one. They're both 2-1 now. They're both still good football teams. And I'm not a fan of just absolutely just throwing a team out. I think a lot of people did that with Oregon. I know, I even heard Joel Klatt, he was kind of mad that, that the Pac-12 looked bad, I guess. I don't know why, but he really kind of threw Oregon under the bus after that loss. And that's just, it's not fair. That's unfair for a coach in his first game to go up against that team. Mm-hmm. And Oregon was written off, and Bo Nix was too, and he came back and he played well, because that's what Bo Nix does. He has a couple of games where it's absolutely inexcusable how bad he is and the throws that he makes. And then he'll come back and you'll realize why he was a 5-star, and he'll make really good throws, smart decisions. It's what he did in this game. Oregon was able to run the ball. Oregon was able to throw the ball. They were able to do almost whatever they wanted on offense. It was impressive. Oregon's going to be a tough out for teams in the Pac-12. I still believe that. And I think BYU is too. Jaron Hall is a real dude at quarterback for BYU. They're going to be just fine. They've got a lot of tough games left. It's a matter of one team was better than the other on that day. And I don't think it's not fair just to make huge assumptions on this game.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, this next game, I only mention it just because of the ending. App State 32, Troy 28. I didn't actually watch any of this game except the end, and that was just in replays because it was insane. App State throws a Hail Mary last play of the game. It bounces off the several players, I guess, back to the 10-yard line where a receiver catches it and runs around the corner into the end zone. Just a really cool ending. Fun college football. Just hearing some of the calls of the radio teams and whoever, it was just notable because it was fun. So
yeah, no, I don't have much else other than that. They showed the replay live in the stadium, just after it happened in the stadium. And the whole crowd just went nuts. They just couldn't believe it happened. Fans of both teams were just kind of losing it.
Sure.
That's always really fun to see a successful Hail Mary pulled off.
Sure. Okay, so I said earlier that we had 2 overs hit for the season, win totals. The other one was Kansas. Kansas beats Houston 48-30, going over the 2.5 win total. Kansas's offense is good, and Houston is bad. I was wrong about Houston. I had Houston as maybe the best G5 team in the country this year. Definitely wrong about them. Kansas, though, wow.
Yeah, I like that. Wow. I don't really know what to say here. Like, I really don't know what to say. They put up almost 50 points.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of good. They're 3-0. We talked about basketball schools that are 3-0. Duke, who they're playing this week, also 3-0. Kentucky, 3-0. Yeah, Syracuse. All these schools are 3-0. I don't have much else for you here. Like, there's so much left. Like, it's so hard to gauge too, because like people will sometimes ask for like, how good is this team? Like, we're not really sure because they beat Houston, but we don't really know if Houston's any good yet or not. They beat West Virginia, like, which kind of gives Kansas a little bit of that gives them some credibility. We think West Virginia is going to be at least solid this year.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Kansas will have some winnable games left. Like, they have a number of games left that they can probably win, but not layups. Like, they're not. Kansas is not going to a bowl. Let's not act like Kansas is going to be going to a bowl game. I don't see that happening. It would be shocking if Kansas gets 6 wins.
But don't you think like they're going to win at least another game or two, and they're going to compete more often than that?
Agreed. No, agree. I think they can win at least 4. At 4 or 5 is a lot. Five's a lot. They could they could really surprise me. They have to play, like, Texas Tech is good, but you can maybe beat Texas Tech. TCU is good. You can maybe get them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm 5 wins. 5 wins feels about right. If they get to 6, that's incredible. Hats off.
Sure. Okay, Kansas fans, stop listening right now. Just don't listen to this part. So, who takes Lance Leipold? He's getting another job, isn't he?
Yeah. No, that's right. That's right. I know Nebraska would be lucky to have him.
Wouldn't he be a great fit there?
That's already been linked. I know that people have already talked about that. Yeah, Auburn. I don't think he's an SEC guy. Like, maybe he is. I don't know, but like, I think Auburn's going to want an SEC guy after just completely not getting one with Harsin. So like, I would kind of rule him out.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech isn't that much better of a job than Kansas. Like, I don't know if you want to go to Georgia Tech or not. So, but yeah, like, I do agree. Someone's going to come get him though. Like, someone's going to come get him, probably Matt Campbell as well, because there's going to be a lot of coaches fired this year. There's going to be probably more fired this year than have been in some past years. So yeah, he will be in demand, no doubt.
Sure. Okay, I mentioned this game just because it was closer than expected. Wake Forest 37, Liberty 36.
Yeah.
We mentioned this just in passing in our preview. I think we both kind of expected Wake Forest would sort of roll here. It might just be a sign that they're not quite as good as they were last year. I don't know. And it also could be they were peeking forward to Clemson. Just throwing that out there.
That's a good pickup by you. Certain teams were definitely looking forward to other teams this week. I think Arkansas also comes to mind.
Sure.
You could even say maybe Florida was doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Wake Forest, I would put them right in there with it. There were certain teams that were definitely looking on a week in advance.
Yep. Okay, LSU 31, Mississippi State 16. This is one you were all over. You took LSU into the locks. They were getting 2.5 at home. I was wrong about this game. I did not make this a lock or anything, but I expected Mississippi State to win. And kind of even mentioned that in the preseason when we were talking about the SEC.
Right.
I was pretty high on Mississippi State. I still think like they could have a really good year. I went over 6.5 for them, and I went under 6.5 or 7 for under 7, I guess, for LSU.
Right.
Obviously, either one of those could still hit, but I do think even despite the loss to Florida State, I think LSU looks a little better than I expected so far.
LSU is good. LSU has more talent than people think. Jaden Daniels is clicking on offense. That is working. That got figured out. The offense is smooth now for LSU. And they have 3 really good receivers with Neighbors, Keyshawn Booty, and Jenkins. They have 3 legit receivers. And they're always going to have secondary guys. Like, they just always will. Like, they've got some edge rushers. BJ Ojolari a couple sacks in this game. Harold Perkins, you remember him, the 5-star that they got last minute, had a sack and a half in this game, another tackle for loss. Stuff like that matters. Yeah, Ali Gay still playing on the opposite side edge, losing the defensive tackle Mason Smith hurts. They're still fine. LSU is still fine. They have a lot of talent. Yeah, no, this is I think where I thought LSU would be, and I think they're going to continue to improve. I think you're going to see that offense continue to get a little smoother as they kind of gel and iron out the wrinkles, so to speak.
Sure. Okay, you mentioned Arkansas a little bit ago. Arkansas 38, Missouri State 27.
Yeah.
Bobby Petrino pulled out all the stops in his return to Fayetteville. Of course. And they were scaring Arkansas for most of the game, but Arkansas finally kind of like figured them out and won the game. Yeah. Anything to take away here other than just Arkansas is probably looking ahead, and Bobby Petrino might have been preparing the entire offseason for this game specifically.
Fair enough. Yeah, I would say more of that. That's where I would lean. I think Arkansas had a tendency to look ahead, and Petrino, this was everything for him. He gets to come back home. Mm-hmm. From the team that fired him, amid scandal and all that. So yeah, good for Arkansas. I guess you survived, and yeah, if you beat A&M next week, they will completely forget about this game. It will have never existed.
Sure. NC State 27, Texas Tech 14. NC State looked a little scared at the beginning of the year, but I think this was a pretty solid win. They were favored by about 10.5, and I guess you could say kind of took care of business against a pretty solid Texas Tech team. Any major takeaways from this?
That NC State's kind of legitimate, I guess. Sure. Like Texas Tech we think is pretty good, and NC State, that was you don't want to say emphatic win, but they were, clearly the better team. So yeah, it's a win that sets you up for something better later on. It's one of those same wins it sets you up to where, like, if you go and you beat Clemson here in 2 weeks, you feel like this win will have put you in position to do that, and to just to kind of just gather all that momentum up and push towards later in the year. So fan of what they did. I'm not a huge fan of their offense. Like sure. I know a lot of people aren't, and fine, whatever. The defense is still really good. It was really good last year. It's good again this year. Like, I don't know. I don't really know what people want me to say about NC State. Like, they're good. They're solid and like functional. They're very functional, extremely functional. And if they can they out functional Clemson? Like, I don't know, maybe. If they do, yeah. If they do, this will just be a stepping stone in the way.
Dave Doran feels a little bit like James Franklin to me, where he's good at getting his team prepared, I think. Yeah. Not all that great on game day. Really? And makes some questionable, like, fourth down decisions, and just, I don't know, punts too often, and just they should be a little better than they are probably, but they are pretty good. So, yeah. Washington 39, Michigan State 28. This one was kind of eye-opening. Washington comes out and just, like, kind of destroys Michigan State. Like, this really was not an 11-point game.
No, yeah, I didn't see this one coming. This was a blowout. Really all game long. I think it was 29-0 or 29-8 at halftime? Like, it was
29-8, yeah.
It was a full shellacking from Washington. Penix looks really good, man. Yeah. Like, that offense looks really dang good. Michigan State still can't stop the pass. They still cannot stop the pass. We thought they probably would have that fixed because they had a whole offseason in the transfer portal to get guys to stop it. They still cannot stop the pass. Very frustrating to watch. I was high on Michigan State. I still kind of am, but like, they're going to get destroyed by teams in the Big Ten if they can't stop. If they have to be able to either get more pass rush or, like, I don't even have the answer for them. They're just out-athleted. They're completely out-athleted in the secondary right now as Michigan State. They're going to lose games if they try to win that way. Like, you're not going to be able to do that.
How good is Kalen DeBoer?
I like him a lot. Yeah, big fan of that guy. You were all over Washington this year. I was a little slower on him. I'm a Kalen DeBoer guy. I'm a fan of his. I thought what he did at Fresno State last year was incredible. I thought they had a really good offense. I didn't buy into Penix still being good. Like, I really didn't. I didn't see that, like, the rejuvenation there. I didn't see that coming. Yeah, that's remarkable what he's doing there. Washington has a sneaky high ceiling. People don't talk about that. Washington has a sneaky high ceiling. They have some games on there. If they go win, say you go beat an Oregon State, USC, Utah, you beat you win some of those games, and you're going to be a top 10 team. You could be a top 10 team. Would have never thought of that coming into the year. That's incredible what they've done to start.
Yep. Okay, Texas 41, UTSA 20. UTSA came out to like a 10-point lead pretty early. I think it was 17-7. Texas finally like, okay, we actually have to like try, and then they finally pulled away. That is all just based on watching box scores and whatever, because this was on Longhorn Network, so I didn't watch any. So
I'd like to tell you that I watched some of it too, but yeah, I can't watch it. We can talk a little bit about how frustrating it is for some of these networks. Like you can't watch anything. There's going to be a game on the Pac-12 network this week. We will be able to watch none of it. And it's going to be a good game, a game that I would watch normally. Not going to be able to watch a second.
The crazy thing is, as frustrating as it can be in college, if you want to watch a specific NFL game, it's even more frustrating.
It's the worst.
It's so bad.
Worst. Yeah.
There's no reason why you should have 3 different games on CBS at the same time. You can only watch the one in your region. That's ridiculous. This is something college figured out a long time ago, at least with most of the high-profile games. Most people have ESPN2 and Fox Sports 1. You can find pretty much any game. There's a few, and that's why games like this stand out as being super aggravating. It happens to me all the time in the NFL because I'm a Colts fan living in Colorado, and yeah, there's just
you get to watch none of them. Yeah,
I have to find backdoor ways, get creative to watch.
Creative. I like that. I'm just gonna say who's not watching. Texas and UTSA tied 17-17 at halftime. The start of the third quarter. You know who would be watching that? Me. I would be trying to watch a little bit of third quarter. 17-17 Texas UTSA. It's upset alert. Imagine if this game had gone into the fourth quarter and been close, people would have been outraged. So we stand together on that one.
Sure. Okay, Texas A&M 17, Miami 9. This was a loss for both of us on the locks because we had Miami plus 5.5. I guess both of us assuming that Haynes King would still be the quarterback for A&M. And
not.
They played Max Johnson, and their offense awakened and scored 17 points, which might be good enough for them to win a lot of games this year, honestly.
Right. I don't have much here. I feel that Miami lost this game as much as A&M won it. As soon as Max Johnson started, we talked about this earlier. As soon as Max Johnson was the starter, we knew that we were not going to be winning this one, or just didn't feel that way. Miami should have probably won this football game. Like Miami had 27 first downs, A&M had 16. Mm-hmm. Miami had almost 400 yards. Texas A&M had 260. Wow. Like they dominated it in almost every category. They had that one turnover. Tyreek Stevenson fumbled the ball. That's how A&M got the touchdown to really. It felt like it felt like the game was almost over at that point. Mm-hmm. Miami was trying to win by kicking field goals and couldn't do it. That's about all I have to say. I mean, it was very frustrating to watch their play calling. I was able to watch a lot of this game, and Miami they were not aggressive. They didn't come out and try to punch the ball in the end zone. So they kind of deserve what they got a little bit. It's kind of my opinion. But yeah, I will say Miami's probably not going to play any more talented teams than what they just did against A&M. I think it was an extremely talented team, but kind of a boring game. It wasn't really fun to watch.
You're right. It was not exciting at all. But yeah, I do think that I feel a little better about A&M just because like they actually did make the move. Like they actually made the move that we all thought would make sense is play, hey, why don't you go ahead and play Max Johnson?
Right.
And so because of that, I feel like they got a tough stretch coming up, but they have a chance to win basically any game on their schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, USC 45, Fresno State 17. This was a win for both of us in the locks. USC, once again, their offense hums right along. We still don't know anything about their defense other than it's probably not very good, but their offense is insane.
They can't stop the run. They get absolutely mauled up front, but it doesn't really matter when Caleb Williams just goes off. So
yeah. Is there a chance that at the end of the year we look back and say Caleb Williams might be the best quarterback in the country?
Yeah, really good chance. Really good chance. If say they go undefeated, they get in the playoff. I think a lot of people would say that. I did. Jake Haener, the quarterback for Fresno State. You mentioned like Kalen DeBoer, the whole thing that they had last year. He got hurt in this game. It looked really bad. Yeah, I was a fan of this guy.
Yeah.
I loved watching him play, especially last year. Fresno was downright scrappy in some games against big teams, and he was a huge part of that. So to see him go down that was tough. I don't actually know the extent of the injury. I did not check back in on that, but I just wanted to note that he was a really fun guy to watch, and it looks like that could possibly be season ending.
Yeah, that's too bad. Okay. Not quite an over for the season, but a lot closer than most people would have thought. Arizona 31, North Dakota State 28. Arizona looking pretty good this year.
Did we both have the Arizona over? I believe we did.
Yes, theirs is at 2.5, and they have 2 wins now.
Yeah, I mean, they snuck one out. I've heard, that they had a lot of help from the refs.
Okay.
I didn't watch it. I'll be honest. I did not watch it.
Didn't either.
There's a lot of ref help for Arizona as a home game. Just nice to know that the refs are on our side. We did say that if you're going to schedule like a bad opponent, don't make it North Dakota State because they're actually really good. But Arizona beat them. Like the Fighting Jedfish are 2-1 and have a really good chance, really good chance of going over this year.
Absolutely. You can talk about the refs. The fact is, 2 years ago, if they had played North Dakota State, it wouldn't have mattered what the refs would have done. You wouldn't have been in the game for it to matter.
That's right.
So
That's right.
They have come a long way. Props to Jedfish. And then one last final score here: Eastern Michigan 30, Arizona State 21. And since then, Herm Edwards has been fired. So the Arizona State experiment with Herm Edwards is now over. This has long been talked about it as a program that should be better than what they are. They're in a good area for, both weather-wise and for recruiting, actually.
Yes.
Arizona has a sneaky amount of talent, plus you're right by Southern California. Are you surprised at all this went poorly? I'm not. Personally, I'm not any surprised. I was shocked by the hire at the time, but what do you think?
No, agreement. What I don't understand is some of these schools, and we said this about Nebraska, but they fired the coach after 3 games. If you were this close to firing him, get rid of him at the end of last year and give your new guy a whole off season to get in there and get ready. That's what I didn't understand. And I know last year was crazy because all the coaches were leaving and all that. And maybe you didn't feel you could get a top name, but it feels dumb. It feels like it's a little unfair. Yeah. It's just, I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of the way either one of those schools went about it. This year, Arizona State is now number 2, right? It's just them and Nebraska that have a current opening at head coach. I know there's a number of others that will join them quickly, but it seems like it gets earlier and earlier every year. Like it's like 1 or 2 bad results and boom, you're gone. Not a huge fan of that, but not surprised at all. It's been coming. I think it should have came a while ago. It should have came the end of last year, I guess.
Yeah. So do you think that Arizona State maybe actually hires somebody who has recently coached college football this time?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't even know who. Like, I don't know who. I don't know a good name. Like, maybe you go from like a Texas guy.
Do you think they could pull Jonathan Smith from Oregon State, who went to Oregon State?
No, I don't think so. He's like, they're good. Oregon State's good right now.
Sure.
Like, Arizona State has more ceiling than Oregon State, no doubt. But like, why would you leave? Like, I would argue that Arizona State has more of a better ceiling than Iowa State. Try to go get Matt Campbell. Like, why would you leave? Like, I don't know why you would want to go to that level of dysfunction right now.
Sure. Makes sense.